to those problems because although I live in Spain, I am from Latin America. I am from Argentina. So I'm South American. And I started my teaching career there, and I moved to Spain 20 years ago, a bit more than 20 years ago. And when I came here, I realized I had a sort of culture shock because not only I was a foreigner, I was an immigrant, but also I wasn't a native speaker of English. Oh, horror. In my country, that's not a problem. In my country, you are a teacher, you are a teacher. You have a degree, you work. You may be a native speaker of English, but if you don't have a degree, you cannot teach. That's not the case here in Spain. And sometimes that happens in many countries, unfortunately. But these drawbacks taught me something very important. Being a woman, being a non-native speaker, and being Latin American was not a weakness. It was a source of strength, empathy, and creativity, because it gave me the power to connect with my students in ways that others can't. Because we teachers, we non-native teachers, non-native speaker teachers of English have an advantage. We are successful role models. We can show our students that we can learn the language and we can be proficient users of the language. So we are good examples for our students. And we also understand the difficulties that they might have because we have been through the same difficulties. Now, I know that, for example, in your context, you have your own unique challenges, yes? But there are challenges that we all share. And not just in Africa or Asia or Latin America, also here in Europe. Because especially being women, because we have to balance family and work. We have to overcome stereotypes. We have to do a lot with little. Even, and that is very important, sometimes people think that we in Europe have a lot of resources. Well, that may not be the case in every country. And during the pandemic, for example, here in Spain, the differences, social differences, and the differences in the resources that families had were very evident, because not all the families had computers for every member. Not all the families had good internet connections, and those inequalities were clear and clearly seen during the pandemic. So we share, in many cases, many difficulties, and we need to make do with the little that we have. So what happens with that? It makes us more resilient and more creative. So today's session, I hope you will find it inspiring and empowering. And the first question I would like to ask you, and I know there are some gentlemen in the audience, and this question is for all of you. What do you think your superpower as a teacher is? And for the ladies, what is your superpower as a woman ELT teacher? Feel free to open your mics or to write in the chat box. Oops. So what do you think is your superpower as a teacher, as a teacher of English? And if you're a lady, what is your superpower as a lady teacher of English? Any ideas? As I say, feel free to open your mics, or if you don't want to open your mic, please Write in in the chat box. For example, Sarah, what would you say is your superpower as a teacher, as a woman teacher of English?
Yeah, as a woman teacher, I think it's being able to multitask. I think this is the first superpower, I would say.
Yeah.
That's the first thing that comes to my mind, like being able to handle it all at once. I mean, being a teacher, a mom, a student, all at the same time. Yeah, I think this is just, it's my superpower.
Yes, multitasking. Yes.
Yeah.
And for the gentlemen in the room, what do you think your superpower as a teacher of English is? Oh, we have something in the chat box. Grazia, being multilingual is your superpower, and as a woman, being supportive of other women by opening different spaces for collaboration. Fabulous answer, Grazia. Thank you so much. And I know who that Grazia is. We were together a little while ago in the EVE mentoring program, the opening of a mentoring program. Grazia and I share a lot of things, beginning with we are both Latin American. And yes, that is being supportive of other women, yes, by opening different spaces for collaboration. I think that is really important. And that is my main aim with this session. So, let's see. Now, let's look a little bit at the context very quickly. Yes, education is often called a feminized profession because if we walk into a classroom anywhere in the world, you will see that most classrooms are led by women. Yes, and there's another comment in the chat box. Let's see. I think my superpower is motivating students to achieve their goals, and it's a very important one. Definitely. A teacher who is able to motivate their students is a real teacher, a good teacher. So, as you can see here in this statistics, let's say, we are really a majority in the profession. Yes. Notice that, for example, worldwide, we make up about 70% of teachers. In sub-Saharan Africa, for example, it's about 48%. But the problem comes, or the issue comes, when we look at who makes the decisions. Who sits in the director's office? Who shapes the curriculum? Who runs the training programs? And there, the numbers change dramatically. As you can see, worldwide, only 28% of school heads at secondary level are women. Yes? And in Africa, fewer than 1 in 4 school principals are women. So this happens in all walks of life, because in business, for example, not many women reach that glass ceiling, can break the glass ceiling. But in teaching, it's also the same story. Now, and this underrepresentation is not just about numbers. It's about whose voices are heard, whose ideas shape the future of education, whose experiences are reflected in the policies and the practices that affect us all. Sometimes you look at photographs of committees, educational committees, and most of the members of those committees are men. I'm sorry, guys, but we need some equality, yes? I'm not saying that we should be the majority, but there should be some kind of balance. Now, why does this happen? Now, for example, there are societal expectations, yes? In many communities, including my own experience, and I imagine that in Angola the same happens, women are still expected to put family responsibilities above their careers. And if we push too hard for leadership, sometimes we are told that that ambition is not very feminine. I can, in 2025, I can still hear those comments. Or if a woman is ambitious, she's too pushy. In a man, being very ambitious is okay, but in a woman, is being too pushy. And I can see this around me here in Spain. Also, confidence gaps. Sometimes we may feel we don't sound native enough. We are not experienced enough. We are not assertive enough. Self-doubt creeps in, the troll. I always say the troll is here saying, oh, you can't do that. Oh, come on. It's easy to believe those voices, even if we know that it's not true. So we need to overcome and silence those voices. And also limited resources. Many of us are asked to do so much with so little. Few materials, little opportunities for training, sometimes little support. So when resources are scarce, opportunities for leadership often go to those who shout the loudest, not for those who work the hardest. That sometimes happens. So, why do women's voices and leadership matter in ELT? It's not just a question of fairness, it's a question of quality and positive change. First of all, diverse leadership leads to better decisions. International organizations, that is, all organizations, including schools, are more effective and more innovative when leadership is diverse. When women bring their perspectives to the table, the needs of students, teachers, communities are understood more broadly and responded to more effectively. There's also the question of empathy and inclusivity. Women leaders often bring a strong sense of empathy and are skilled at building an inclusive classroom and inclusive school cultures. We are also role models for students. When girls see women in positions of authority, they begin to see themselves in those roles. It raises their aspirations and changes what they believe is possible. And it's just as important for boys to see women leading so that gender equality becomes normal and expected. So it's important for both boys and girls. Also, responsive to community needs. Women educators are often deeply connected with their communities. When they lead, they bring local knowledge, cultural sensitivity, and practical problem solving into decision making. And also, all this takes us to improved educational outcomes. Studies have linked increased women leadership in schools with better outcomes for all students, especially for girls. Higher attendance, better performance, greater participation in class. So when we lead or when we have a stronger participation, everybody benefits. Students, colleagues, and communities. Now, I want to highlight something that I have seen again and again, both in my own career and in classrooms, yes, across the world. I mean, I've been really lucky because thanks to my job, thanks to being a teacher of English and to the work I do, I've been able to travel in South America I've been able to work in Europe, well, mostly in Spain, but I have worked with teachers in Turkey, in Italy, in Portugal, here in Spain. And also I've been to countries like Turkey, China, and Indonesia. So visiting schools in all these different contexts has helped me understand how things work, not just in my immediate context, but elsewhere. And one thing that I have discovered is that constraints spark creativity. Yes? Sometimes we don't have the resources that we would like to have. Yes? Or the recognition we deserve. But we don't stop. When we have a classroom of 50 students and only 20 textbooks, we find ways to share. When there is no technology, we turn classroom walls into an interactive learning space. When we can't afford fancy materials, and that's very common in Latin America, in parts of my own country, my home country in Argentina, not all schools have whiteboards. Not all schools, especially rural schools, they don't have whiteboards. They don't have lots of computers or a good internet access. But when there is no technology, or when you can't afford fancy materials, you transform everyday objects into teaching tools. And some of the most innovative, impactful teaching I have ever witnessed have come from women working in the most challenging circumstances. And this creativity is born out of necessity, and it's innovation and it's leadership in action. So I'd like you to remember that your constraints do not define you. Your creativity in the face of those constraints is what defines you. That resilience, that ability to make magic from almost nothing, that is our superpower. And it's the kind of leadership that education needs right now. So, I would like you now to take a few minutes and think, what are some barriers you have faced, and how have you responded to those barriers? And as I said before, please feel free to open your mic or to write in the chat box. Yes? So, what are some of the barriers that you have faced, and how have you responded? Creatively or otherwise? Take a minute to think, and I would love to hear from you. So, any life story you would like to share with us? For example, in my case, if it can serve as an example, large classes are quite common in Argentina, particularly in public schools. And having a class of maybe 40 students and being all boys, for example, in a technical school, was quite a challenge. it was quite a challenge. Let's see, we have a contribution.
No, it's not. I just reframed the question.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you. Yes, you wrote the question there. Thank you very much. So, would anyone like to share? So, as I was saying, I had 40 teenage boys in a technical school. And they were quite unruly, I must say. And I was quite young at the time. I was a young teacher at the time. The age difference wasn't that big, I must say, because I started teaching quite early. And so they thought that they started pushing the limits, yes? Because discipline is another issue. So I remember that one day they started chatting and not paying attention. So I stopped the class. And what I did was I made it clear to them that I was there to teach them, and they were there to learn, because I explained to them how in their future lives, professional lives, they would find themselves perhaps needing English, and maybe they would miss interesting job opportunities because they hadn't paid attention in class. Then also we had problems with the number of books that we had. So I started groups, yes? So it was quite interesting to navigate those challenges. Yes, somebody in the chat. Let's see, Grazia. Large classes in secondary school in Honduras where a classroom could be around 80. Oh my God. And what I did was create multi-level learning circles. This way, those who were more proficient would support those who were in the process of honing their skills, and it allowed me to help others who needed more of my support. Right. Excellent. Yes, that's a very, very good idea, Grazia. Thank you. 80 students. Oh my God. Yes, Moises, please go ahead.
Nowazi, yeah.
Nowazi, because I saw Moises between brackets and I didn't know. Okay, Nowazi, please go ahead.
Oh, thank you for the opportunity. Hello to everyone. I am sorry. I have a problem with my device, so I can't type. I prefer talking.
Don't worry.
By the way, as for me, okay. As for me, I am currently giving English lessons online as a freelancer, and I have a student. I currently have a problem, and I haven't passed through it yet. So I would like to share and also hopefully get some ideas from you guys if maybe I can apply some of them to help out. I have a student who is a Portuguese native, and he's actually a guy. He's taking the lessons because he will be doing a professional course, a postgraduate course in English. And it comes to this challenge of time pressures. So he will be studying his course on October, and then he needs to speak, and he can't really speak at the moment. So I'm facing this challenge because he really needs to speak, and as he will be starting in a month's time. So what I've been doing lately, I have been setting up some online tests for him and giving him more of some exercises to do to test him out, and he's not doing well. So I'm really stuck at the moment, but hopefully I'm trying and I'm looking out for ways. How can I help this student to succeed and probably reach an intermediate level. So that's the challenge I'm currently facing, and I'm looking forward to get help from you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I hope we can give you some ideas along the way. Magda says, our reality in public schools letters with lack of motivation to teach. Currently, I have been teaching a large class. It's so difficult to know each student's reality. Yes, with large classes, that is really a problem. That we have multiple realities, we have multiple levels, and it's difficult to know what each student needs. Well, let's see if hopefully we can give some ideas and we can help each other. Okay. Now, and this is wonderful because now we are talking about collaboration. As we're going to be helping each other, yes, we need to be aware of the power of collaborative problem solving among women educators. Collaboration is key. Sometimes we don't realize that we tend to isolate ourselves. Yes, we tend to work on our own, but we don't share enough with our colleagues. It doesn't matter if they are not teaching English. Maybe we can get some advice from the teacher of another subject, but we need to collaborate. Yes. So it's really important because it's not just me saying this. There is research behind it. Yes, that is, there are studies by UNESCO, right, which I found really interesting, because it says that teachers who regularly participate in communities are 30% more likely to adopt new teaching strategies and report higher job satisfaction. So this is one way in which we can motivate ourselves to keep on trying, even in the face of difficulties. I was working this summer with teachers in Portugal and also here in Spain with teachers from other European countries. And we set up this, for example, the teachers in Portugal, they were from different schools, from different parts of the country. So what we did was we set up, let's say, teaching communities, teaching practice communities. So they created WhatsApp groups. And in that way, they exchanged ideas, they shared problems and solutions. Because many a time they had the same problems, but as they didn't communicate, they didn't know that maybe somebody in another school had the same problem and had found a way of solving it. And this increases motivation, because it can be quite frustrating to be trying to solve a problem with your classes and not being able, but you feel you have nobody to share your problems with. So it's really important to have this collaboration, also to build strong support systems within the school. As I say, not only with teachers of the same subject, but with teachers of other subjects. Because, for example, if you have a discipline problem in a group, talk with other teachers who are teaching the same group, and maybe you can find a solution. Yes? So it's important that you have to have strong peer support systems. Also, I think that when we build these support systems, we are more empowered and more confident to innovate in our classrooms. So, for example, attending webinars. attending webinars. That is, there are plenty of webinars on offer around the world in this moment. So attending webinars is wonderful because even I, having the experience teaching that I have, I always attend. Today, for example, at very early today, I attended a webinar on feedback, on formative feedback. I give training on formative assessment and feedback, but I like to see what my colleagues are doing because you always learn from what others are doing. So it's important. It's important to remember this. You don't have to solve every problem alone. When we collaborate, we multiply our strengths, our creativity, and our impact, not just for ourselves, but also for the students and for the teaching community. So, I would like you to reflect on this and think, how might you turn your next barrier into a bridge? Who can you turn to when you have one challenge like the ones you have mentioned? Is there anyone in your teaching community that can help you? Is there anyone within the teacher association that can help you? Because that's also what teaching associations are for. I am a member of TESOL Spain, the Spanish Association of Teachers of English. And that's something that we do a lot. Yes, we support each other. We offer support to teachers, and we encourage teachers to support each other. So if somebody has a problem, also connect with your teaching association. Yes, because they might know someone who can support you, who can help you. For example, there's I would like you to bear these questions in mind. I mean, I sent the slides to Sarah. So Sarah, if you would like to share them later with participants, I would love that. So think of these questions as a personal reflection. Think of a challenge you regularly face. Think of somebody who found a creative solution. Yes? How might you turn these barriers into a bridge? Who can you turn to for help? This is very important. Reflect on this and plan your future bridges, if you wish. For example, I will tell you about a case study, a teacher who transformed limited resources into creative teaching opportunities. Yes, and I hope she can inspire you. Let's call her Maria. Yes, she's a primary school teacher from a rural area. Somebody has the mic on. Okay, thank you. So let's give this teacher a name. She's Maria. It's not her real name. Oops, sorry. But she is a teacher in a rural area, yes? And it's a rural area in Argentina. And it's a deprived rural area. Yes, and like many of you, maybe, she faced an uphill battle. She had 48 students in her class. She only had 12 books for the whole class. And she didn't have any technology, no computers, no projectors, no photocopying machines, just the board, her imagination, and her students' energy. So she used these three strategies. First of all, as she didn't have enough books, She asked her students to bring old magazines, old newspapers, food wrappers, any printed material her students could find. And they turned these scraps into English learning resources. And they created vocabulary flashcards, collage posters, collage posters, story strips. Although the magazines and the newspapers were in Spanish, what they did was cut up letters and create the words in English. It was a lot of work, but as she engaged all the students, because they became participants, not just receivers of the knowledge, they were really very excited. With the older students, because also she had a range of ages and levels, so the older students helping the younger students, and everybody creating the materials. So they also learned to look for English words in their daily lives, and they started bringing new things and trying to find new things each week. She also divided, as very much as Maria Grazia did, she divided her class into small groups, mixing students of different abilities. Yes, so each group was given a topic challenge of the week. For example, my family, or what's in my village. And they worked together to gather words, draw pictures, present simple dialogues to the class. And this structure did two things. It made sure every student could participate even without a book. And it encouraged students to think critically, to ask questions, to make choices about what to include, and also to explain ideas to others. And also the students who were more confident, who had a higher level of English, they could help the ones who didn't have such a good level of English. And it also helped them develop critical thinking through everyday objects. That is, she wanted her students to do more than just memorize words. So she brought in everyday objects, and she also challenged her students to bring objects, and she challenged the students to describe all these things in English, describing, comparing, imagining stories about these items. For example, suppose that they have a pot. Yes? A pot. Some kind of pot. Well, I don't have a pot here, but a pot. So she can ask the students, okay, how would you use this pot if you were living on the moon? A crazy idea, but it makes the students think creatively. Or, for example, one thing that I love doing with students is find 10 uses. For example, suppose that I have this cup. This is a cup of tea. Yes, it's a cup, a large cup. All right. Find 10 uses for this cup or for any object that you give your students. 10 uses besides the logical one, drinking from it. Yes, 10 other uses. The condition, and this is where creativity comes in, where creativity sparks with limitations, because you tell them, okay, 10 uses, but all the uses need to be real and possible. That is, for example, I have a floor mat. I cannot say travel to another country on my floor mat like Aladdin, because that is not possible. It's not realistic. It can't happen. So the uses need to be real and possible. So they have to rack their brains in order to find real uses for different everyday objects. And that's wonderful. It's a wonderful exercise for creative and critical thinking. So these simple questions encourage students to use English in creative, thoughtful ways, because they are not just practicing their language skills. They are developing imagination, they are developing problem-solving skills, and they are developing critical thinking. Now, I'm going to share with you, well, so far, so good. Questions up to this moment. Does anybody have any questions? Just open the mic or, or in the chat box, right in the chat box. Okay, if there are no questions, we will move on. And I will share with you some collaborative learning strategies that you can use with large classes. For example, think, pair, share. Are you familiar with this? With think, pair, share?
Yeah, I am.
You are. Okay. Anybody in the room? Yes. Okay. So we have two people who are familiar with think, pair, share. It's very simple, as you know. You pose a question to the class. You give a minute, and this is important. Give students thinking time. You give them a minute to think individually. Then they discuss their thoughts with a partner. And you give them a minute or two. And finally, pairs share their ideas with the whole group. Now, why does this work? Because every student gets a chance to process the question, to process and organize their thoughts and speak. And it works even when time is tight. And we have somebody whose mic is on. Okay, and when you have a lot of students, because if you have a lot of students, the student speaking time is dramatically reduced. But if we have group work and pair work, we can increase that speaking time. Jigsaw activities. You divide students into small, let's say, home groups, and assign each member of the group a different subtopic. So members join expert groups, and they learn about their subtopic. Then you give them, say, 10 minutes to work on that. And then they return to their original group and teach their home group what they have learned in the expert group. And this encourages responsibility, peer teaching, and makes sure every student contributes. And it is something that you can do with large classes. Of course, group projects or posters, yes, creating posters, stories, role-playing a topic, creating skits, that is, very short theater plays that can be, I don't know, 10 lines long, not much more than that. And you have groups creating their posters, their projects, their role plays. Also rotating stations. Yes, you have different stations. Yes, for example, you have one station with grammar activities, another with vocabulary, another with reading, another with speaking tasks. And you have these stations around the class. And groups rotate through each station completing tasks. And you keep students moving and engaged, and the stations can be created with minimal resources. It can be just file cards with a short task that the students have to do. And you have them rotating in the different stations. You can have peer teaching, yes. You may ask some students to teach part of the class, to prepare a small part of the lesson, to teach a new word, to teach a grammar point to their peers. This can be done individually, it can be done in pairs, and it builds confidence, yes? It reinforces learning. Debates, discussions in groups. You don't need to have, if you have 40 students in a classroom, you can't have a whole class debate, because that would be chaos. But you can divide students in smaller groups and have them discussing or debating questions or issues, and then they report back to the whole class and share key points. Yes, this enhances speaking skills, critical thinking, and also, and very importantly, respectful listening and active listening. Because what you can do is that when groups report back to the class, the rest of the class needs to ask questions. So you make sure that they are actively listening to what the groups are presenting. Otherwise, it's very easy. You have 4 people presenting something at the front and the rest like this. Having a siesta. No. They need to listen actively. Yes? Also, you can have circle or fishbowl discussions. That is, a small group discusses a topic, yes, in the center. That is the fishbowl. While the others listen. And after a few minutes, they change groups. Another group comes and they have to report, the ones that are listening have to report on what they heard from the fishbowl group. Again, it's another way of having everybody listening actively. Then you have chain stories, pass the card or chain stories. And this is wonderful for story writing and for storytelling. Yes? So you can do this dividing, for example, with a small class, you can do it as a whole class. Otherwise, it can be done in groups. And each group, in each group, one student starts a story. They start a story, and they write the beginning of the story, a sentence to begin the story, on a card or on a piece of paper, and passes this to the next. The next student writes the following line, passes to the next. So in this way, they have to build the story. So how does it work with the timing? You tell them, okay, when I clap twice, everybody stops. So they have to be really concentrated, and it encourages creativity and creative writing, right? And then they share their stories with the rest of the class. Also a gallery walk. For example, if your students have created posters, have created some kind of chart based on a topic that they have studied, they have written something, for example, they have written a story, you can place all this material around the room and groups circulate, read, and leave comments or questions in the work that is displayed. And the authors of the work have to answer the questions or respond to the comments. And of course, group quizzes, group games that you can organize around the room. I am sure that you do many, if not all of these things, but maybe I've given you some other ideas to do in the classroom. Now, allow me to give a few tips. Always assign clear roles. For example, if needed, for example, in groups, a writer, a speaker, a timekeeper. That is, give students clear roles, because in this way, groups will be better organized. Use simple materials. You don't need anything fancy for this. It's enough with paper, chalk, everyday objects. You don't need much. As the students are working, circulate and monitor, but don't intervene unless it is absolutely necessary. Let students help each other. You are empowering them. in this way. Intervene only if it is absolutely necessary. We sometimes tend to spoon feed our students, to overprotect them. Let them take risks and let them manage their own learning. And celebrate successes. So in this way, we are going to build a positive, supportive classroom culture. And you will see the impact. I mean, Maria, this teacher from Argentina that I was telling you about, used all these activities in her teaching practice. Of course, she used them over the school year, not in one day. But doing this, she saw really dramatic changes. For example, students who were shy and silent began to participate more. Attendance to classes improved because students were motivated to go to school. They were excited to see what each lesson would bring. And parents noticed that their children were using English words and asking questions at home. Sometimes parents cannot answer the questions because they don't speak English, but at least they noticed that there was something going on in the classroom. Yes? And it's important because parents will support you if they see that your students are enthusiastic about their learning. So, as you can see, you don't need a classroom full of technology or perfect materials to foster deep learning and critical thinking and creative thinking. What you need is creativity, resourcefulness, and the courage to try new things, even with limited resources. Maybe because of my age, I am not one to use a lot of technology. I like technology, I use technology, but I'm not one to use a lot of technology in the classroom. In that sense, I am a little bit of old school, if you wish, because I see around me and in conferences lots of talks about using tablets, using videos, using AI. Now AI is all the rage everywhere. I don't know how we manage to teach without AI. And teachers are sometimes afraid that AI is going to take up our work. I don't think so. Because there are certain, that is, to begin with, AI works with what we give AI. Secondly, there are things that AI will never be able to do, and that is the human touch, the human connection with our students, the empathy with our students. And that is something that we need to foster in our classrooms. And we need to foster with our colleagues. Yes? So, as I say, I am not against technology, but in a way, I am a bit old school. I like to work with things I used to work with when I was a young teacher many, many years ago. And I have found that teenagers, for example, they are surprised because they expect you to use a lot of technology. And suddenly they see themselves cutting up magazines and doing things with their hands and not using their telephones. And that is, oh, this is different. So the difference can be not using the technology. So far, any questions? Any comments you would like to make? Now, let me ask you a question. Yes, somebody wanted to say something?
No, actually, I wanted to say silence means everything. I got no questions.
Okay.
Everything was clear and the instructor.
Okay. So now I have a question for you. What everyday objects could you use in your classes to spark curiosity? Now, this is for you. For example, I once brought in an umbrella into the classroom, and I put the umbrella on my chair, left it there. It wasn't raining. It was a very sunny day. So I didn't say anything about the umbrella. I put the umbrella on the chair. And after a few minutes, some of the students started asking me why the umbrella was there, why I had brought in an umbrella if it wasn't raining. And so I said, okay, why don't you think of a reason why I brought in an umbrella? Mm-hmm. So we started discussing umbrellas. It was really crazy, but it was a different way of starting the lesson. Mm-hmm. Some of the times what I did, I love doing storytelling with students. Whether they are young learners or teenagers or even adults, I love storytelling. And in my experience, African countries are so rich in stories. I mean, I attended a session at IATEFL in Edinburgh this last April, and it was a storytelling evening, let's say, and the most wonderful stories came from teachers from Africa. They were fabulous, and they were fabulous storytellers. So use those abilities, yes? So whenever for example, my younger students saw me coming into the room with a special hat that I still have. I have a straw hat with fruits and flowers here. They knew that if I went into the room with that hat, they could expect a story to happen. They knew that I was going to tell a story at some point during the lesson. So, what do you think? What objects could you use to spark curiosity in your classes? Sometimes even the most common, ordinary objects can spark curiosity. What do you think?
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay.
Ophelia, is it?
Yes. When I was working with primary school students, I once came in with beans in the class for provocation because we're talking about addition with regrouping using tens, hundreds, and thousands. So I came in with 3 different types of beans, like some with seekers and the others. So the seekers were the thousands, and then the medium ones were the hundreds, and the smaller ones were the tens. So we had to, we were working on addition. So we had to add bigger numbers using the beans. And they were all wondering, teacher, are we going to cook beans today in the class? What are we going to do? I don't see any stove. I don't see any pot. And they didn't know it was just for provocation. In the end, the lesson was successful and we also had fun.
Of course. Wonderful. Wonderful. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for sharing it.
You're welcome.
So you see, even the most everyday things can spark curiosity. So, as I said, you don't need fancy things, yes, in order to run a class, a successful class. Now, let's see. Having said all this, what do you think? What is creative thinking and what is critical thinking? What do you think? How would you describe critical thinking and creative thinking? Any ideas?
Can I come in?
Yes?
Yeah. So creative thinking is looking at things from different perspectives, so that you can have a new perspective and new way of doing things.
Right.
And when we see critical thinking, it is evaluating the pros and cons of a given thing, evaluating the negatives and the positives, and then taking the positive aspect of it as critical thinking.
Yeah, right, Fozia. I wouldn't have been able to define that better. Thank you so, so much. Yes.
Thank you.
Sometimes we think we are not creative because we think of creativity as being artistic creativity. No, no, no. Creative thinking is finding the ability to use your imagination, put simply. Yes, generating new ideas, finding new ways to solve problems, finding new ways to do the things we do every day, even when we're so limited. Yes, and critical thinking is stopping, that is, in a very simple way, stopping to think, not accepting things as we see them, but going beyond the obvious. Yes? So it's very important. The question, for example, it's thinking outside the box and maybe turning, I don't have this, into, okay, what can I use? Or what can I do to solve this lack that I have? And we can apply that to all our walks of life, to our students' lessons, to our profession, to our teaching situation. Yes? And that's why this is so important, especially for us educators, for us women educators, because these skills help us and also our students not just accept things as they are, but imagine what could be different. They give us the confidence to adapt, to solve problems, to keep moving forward, even when the situation is tough. Also, creative and critical thinking turn barriers into opportunities because they help us find new ways to teach, to engage our students, to support each other. And also, we show students, particularly the girls, that they too can be thinkers, innovators, leaders. So it's a question of empowerment, resilience, and leadership. Yes? And let's say we women, we are natural problem solvers. Because ever since we are born, we are trying to solve problems. and when we, as we grow up, we encounter problems that are only problems for us, for women. And so we need to find ways of solving the problem. So we are natural problem solvers. So think about how many times you have had to find a way when the answer wasn't obvious. For example, combining leftover materials to make a lesson work, finding creative ways to keep students engaged, balancing teaching, family, and community responsibilities every single day. So, creative and critical thinking are not extras. Yes, they are the foundation of what we do. So, by recognizing and strengthening these skills, we become more powerful educators and better role models. So, I would like to share with you this framework. Yes, the SPARK framework. A SPARK? So, to help us remember some of the most effective strategies for women educators, I'd like you to remember this framework. Each letter stands for a powerful tool that we can use. So, the S, is, as I said before, support networks. None of us can do this work alone. Support networks are about building alliances, formal and informal alliances, with other women educators. Can be a WhatsApp group, can be regular meetups, simply checking with a colleague after school. And these networks help us share resources, advice, and encouragement. So our days will feel lighter, not heavier. Practical creativity. P is for practical creativity. You don't need, as I said, also fancy materials to make learning exciting. Use everyday objects, turn local stories and student experiences into lesson content. Adapt games and songs so that everybody can participate. The A stands for authenticity. Your unique perspective is your strength. Authenticity means being true to who you are and bringing your own experiences into your teaching. Share your own stories, your language, your culture. Encourage students to do the same. When we teach from a place of authenticity, we connect more deeply and inspire our students to do the same. R is for resilience. Teaching is hard work, and self-care matters a lot. Resilience is about looking after yourself so you can keep making a difference day after day. Many a time we forget to look after ourselves. Yes, take time to rest and recharge, even if it is a short walk or a few quiet moments. Sometimes you need to lock yourself up in the toilet in order to have a quiet moment. And even your cat would be scratching the door to get in. I've been there, yes, with 3 children. I mean, I'm the mother of 3, and I know what that is, yes. So try to find a way of at least locking yourself up in the toilet to just relax for a bit. Also, celebrate small successes. Yes? Okay, today I managed to do this. And remember, ask for help. Asking for help is a sign of strength, not weakness. And K is knowledge sharing. The best teachers are always learning from each other. Knowledge sharing means mentoring, exchanging tips, supporting peer learning. Share your best lesson ideas or classroom hacks with a colleague. Invite others to observe your class or ask to observe theirs. And when we share knowledge, we all grow together and we grow stronger. Let's see, there's a comment here. A school with no critical thinkers, students, it's an instrument for domination. Absolutely, Manuel. I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more with your statement. And I always quote George Orwell and his fantastic work, Animal Farm, where you see the younger generations of the animals on the farm who were completely illiterate. They didn't know how to be critical thinkers, and they were dominated by the pigs. So a school with no critical thinkers is an instrument for domination. Very wise words, Manuel. So when you are facing a challenge, remember the spark. Remember the spark. Yes? And I would like to give, let's say, 3 core strategies that you can use to boost creative and critical thinking in your classrooms, no matter the class size or the resources. Yes? Open-ended questions. Transforming traditional exercises. For example, you have a closed question. What is the capital of Angola? Anybody can answer that. I mean, even if the students don't know, they can Google it or get a book and find it. But the open question would be, if you could design the perfect capital city for Angola, what would it look like? So connect the questions to the students' reality, use local events, use traditions as starting points for discussions. Give students questions that require thinking beyond the book. I call them fat questions. Yes, the open questions. They are fat questions and thin questions. The fat questions are the questions that require our students to think creatively and critically, and then encourage them to share their ideas. Yes, connect the students to their daily lives. For example, what would you do if you were the, I don't know, the city mayor or the village mayor for a day? What improvements would you introduce in your local life? Challenge them. Use context-based projects using local materials and situations. Yes, community problem solving, for example. You can adapt these projects for different levels. For example, you can have beginners drawing pictures using key vocabulary, acting out simple solutions. More advanced students can create more ambitious projects. They can write an essay. They can give an oral presentation. Yes? Use whatever is available. The goal is to connect learning to real life so that our students see that learning English has a purpose. Yes? Also, critical discussions, debates, and role plays for large classes, as I mentioned before. Yes? And this also needs to be, or should be in a way, at least in some cases related to their daily lives, because they will be more engaged if they see that what they are learning is relevant to them. Now, as I said before, if you have limited resources, divide the students into small groups, give students simple prompts or roles to play. That is, no fancy props are needed. So that's really, really useful to bear in mind. Even if you don't have fancy resources, you can make all these things work. Now, let's shift now from ideas and strategies to the power of connection. How we can lift each other and build a strong supportive network. Yes? One of the things is the importance of mentorship, collaboration, and self-advocacy. When we talk about empowerment, it's not only about what we can do for our students, it's about what we can do for each other. Offering guidance, sharing lessons learned, helping newer teachers find their voice, being mentors, collaborating, working together, pooling resources, self-advocacy, speaking up for ourselves, asking for opportunities and not waiting for permission to lead. Be the first to take the first step. Be the leaders. Then, when we have a multiplier effect here. When women support women, when one woman grows, she lifts others with her. When you mentor a colleague, she gains skills and confidence that she will pass to her students, her friends, and even the next generation of teachers. When you share resources, ideas, or encouragement, it spreads far beyond your own classroom. And school, as I said before, schools with strong networks of women educators see higher job satisfaction. That's the multiplier effect in action. So, in order to wrap up, I invite you to think about who has supported you on your journey so far. Who could you mentor or collaborate with next? Remember that we are stronger together. Each connection Each act of support multiplies our impact and creates a network that empowers not just us, but every girl and boy who walks into our classroom. So think about this. What's one way I can support another woman educator this week? This is your homework. So I hope that this session has been useful. If you need to contact me, well, Sarah knows I'm all over the place. I am on social media. I'm on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Facebook. Here's my YouTube channel. You can find resources there. You can write to me. This is my website, where you can also find a blog where I share articles. And just if I can be of help, just send me a message. I will be very, very happy to help you. Yes, within my possibilities. So thank you very much for coming today. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Manuel. Thank you, ANELTA, for giving me this opportunity. And well, if there are any more questions, I will be very happy to answer them.
Thank you so much, Annie. Thank you so much for your insightful presentation. I believe we've learned a lot. There are so many codes here, so many notes that I've actually made here. I hope we'll have time for that. But I would just like to give maybe 5 minutes for some questions. I know we are running out of time, but at least 5 minutes, just 5 minutes. And maybe we have anyone here in the room who has a question, or we can answer the 2 questions. But I think we have already answered Magda's question regarding, regarding large classes, because she's really concerned with that. This is our reality here in Angola with...
I hope some of these ideas are useful. There's a lot more that we can do, but that would be another hour and a half, perhaps. But I don't know. Maybe, for example, you can find some resources in my blog. I have lots of posts with ideas, with practical ideas that you can use. And also, if I can be of help, just drop me a line, and I will be very happy to reply to you.
Okay, no problem. I will share the slides there in the group. So Magda, you can contact me or Annie as well, and we are happy to help. And she's really young, so she's starting in her career as a teacher. I didn't even know that she was teaching. Because she's really young, but yeah. And Mawasi also mentioned about the online challenge that she's having with providing speaking skills or upgrading speaking skills to her student.
Yeah, that's. I mean, she should try to have the student do as much of the speaking as possible, because sometimes we don't realize, and it's us doing the speaking mostly. A good idea would be to, for example, if you have access to YouTube, for example, there are lots of resources there that you can use. So you can have this student listen to something very short. There are lots of resources at different levels. And then you can give the student questions, and you can discuss the questions with the student, implementing this critical thinking thing, having the student express himself, herself, providing, for example, support cards with key vocabulary that the student can use, because sometimes they cannot speak because they don't have enough language. So maybe giving the student some key vocabulary to help him or her answer the questions. Yes? The problem here is that you have little time, my dear, to help this student. Sometimes students think that we are magicians, that we can work miracles. I have had that experience. A mother coming and said, I would like you to prepare my student to sit for the first certificate. Okay, when does your child wants to sit for the first certificate? Next month.
Oh.
Come on. I know how to do a lot of things, but miracles, no. Not yet.
No, exactly. Maybe also it's because of the propaganda that we see there. Some teachers promise this, like, okay, you speak English in 3 weeks.
Oh, yes.
Maybe
Yes.
I don't know what's going on.
In social media, I see that on social media a lot.
Yeah.
Learn to speak English in 2 weeks without a teacher.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the biggest problem is that some people just take they value it only like when they really need it. That's
That's right.
So it's not our fault as teachers.
No.
Do miracles. I mean, it's their fault. They should have done this they had a lot of time and they didn't take advantage of the
That's right. That's right. They come to us last minute.
Exactly. We shouldn't feel
And then
guilty
if they don't pass the exam, it's our fault. No, my dear, it's your fault.
Yeah.
You didn't give yourself enough time to do this.
Exactly. So, does anyone have any question? Let me see in the chat box. We don't have any question. Yeah. Please feel free to raise your hand or unmute yourself. We have 2 more minutes. Well, I really like the part of the African touch there. I sometimes forget about this, like with my kids here when I'm like, okay, let me tell you guys a story. Like, oh my goodness, as a child, I listened to a lot of stories from my aunts and my cousins and all that. I don't know. I forgot them all, and I had to I don't know what I should do to go back to them and bring back those, the gift that we have. I think we are losing it right now, with maybe social media or the new technology and stuff. We are losing it. Yeah.
You have such a wealth, such a wealth of stories. And I see, when I go to IATEFL, I see these people being such wonderful storytellers. You have it in your genes.
We do.
And I remember a Senegalese teacher. She told us a story, and we were all like this. I mean, you could hear a hair fall on the floor. We were all completely enthralled by the storytelling. So use those things, use those stories. You can tell them in English, and you can do a lot of things with stories. I mean, I love storytelling, and I do a lot of things with stories. And I also use some of the stories from my home country. But you have such a wealth of stories. Use them for your English classes.
Yeah. And that's the human touch you mentioned.
That's right.
AI
That's something that the AI will never do.
Exactly. No, it was really great. And well, the other point that you mentioned about locking ourselves up in the toilet, okay, this relates a lot to us as women with kids.
Yeah.
Well, and here at home, but well, I have 2 kids, and they know that when I'm and I normally take my nap. My alone time is when it's in the afternoon, and I'm it's I'm dead. I can't think anymore. I can't process. I just I need at least 30 minutes just of it. And they know that, oh, Mom, you're going to take a nap. Okay, fine. And they'll be, okay, fine. And they will let you just rest. And then, But it's
Yeah, but
then they'll come and remind you, okay, it's time to wake up. For what?
time to get up, mom.
Just to be with me, So it's really great to cherish that, and I normally do that during nap times. Like I really cherish it a lot, and I feel happy when I do that. And after waking up, I feel more energetic and more motivated to continue with life. We really need that. We need to remind to ourselves that we are human beings. Okay, we can have all the superpowers and all that, but we're human beings.
Yeah, and many a time we are led to believe that we are super women.
Yeah.
We are not.
No,
we are not. And we feel guilty if we cannot do everything we are expected to do. We are not super women.
Yeah, and nowadays what I see, I don't know if you see that as well. What I see is that women are now getting into this stage of being overwhelmed at a very young age, and it's really alarming. I mean, of course, I mean, I think we need to set boundaries. Like, okay, we should be more active. Of course, we should work. We should study. But we can't do it. We can't do it all. I mean, if we have to show
That's right. That's right. The problem is that part of the I think that part of the blame is on social media, because we see these women who are so beautiful. They have time to do gym. They have time to go to the hairdresser. They have time to look beautiful. They have time to raise beautiful children. They have time to go to work. They have time to go. Come on. That's not real. That's not real. Either you have a lot of money and you have an army of servants at home to look after your home and your children, or it's not real. I mean, I know. I worked, studied, and raised 3 children. That's not true. I mean, there were days I didn't know what to do with myself. And that's the reality for many of us, for most of us, I would say. So let's not feel guilty about saying, okay, this is it. Stop. Give me 30 minutes of relaxed time. I need it. But if we don't say it, that is also part of self-care. If we don't say it, many a time, people won't realize, our family won't realize. So there are moments when we have to say, okay, stop. I need my time. I need downtime now.
Yeah.
I had to tell that to my own daughter. I have a daughter. She's married. She has 2 children, my 2 grandchildren, who are tremendously energetic children. One is 4 and the other is 7. So imagine. And she's sometimes exhausted. She works in an international company. She has a lot of pressure at work. Then she comes back home and the kids climb all over her because they are really happy to see her. And they say, okay, but you need some downtime. Now she has learned the hard way that she needs downtime because she had a health problem. Not serious, but she had let's say, an alarm. And I said, that is because of stress, of your levels of stress. And that is part of looking after ourselves. If we don't look after ourselves, we cannot be useful for our family, we cannot be useful for our students and for our community. So we need to look after ourselves.
I think we should have another session regarding this. I think we really need to learn a lot about this. Like this is something that's really emerging. I looked at someone and I was like, wow, I saw that she was just putting herself into too many things and she's too young. Yeah. And I was like, no, it's pretty terrible. And I was like, as you said, social media and all that. I mean, it's just women are just being lied. I mean, it's not the reality. I tell them, even when people look at me at social media, know that I'm like, yeah, I always tell them the truth. I always tell them like it's a great challenge. And when I'm motivating women to come to our events or to be more active, I always tell them, okay, but I don't blame you if you are busy. I don't blame you. I mean, it's life, and it's already very challenging to be doing all this at the same time. I mean, to be taking care of your kids, and in our reality here in Angola, it's way more stressful, and more challenging for us because, I mean, we feel guilty, first of all, if we don't do that. And if we don't do that, no one will do it for us. And if we don't take care of our kids, no one will. Or if someone will do that, they won't do it, the way we want to. I mean, so I don't really blame them, but I just motivate them. Because, I mean, if you are a teacher, you should be competent, in what you do. Although there are challenges exist for everyone. But I mean,
you need to remember something. I find this metaphor that I'm going to tell you very useful. When you are flying, the air hostess is giving you the safety instructions. And in an emergency, when the oxygen masks come down, before helping another person, you need to put on your oxygen mask first, and then help the other person, because otherwise you won't be able to help anyone. It's the same for us, for our self-care. First, help yourself, and in that way, look after yourself, and in that way, you will be able to help others. As I say, you will be able to help family, you will be able to help students and the wider community.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We could chat on this for the whole day. There's always time limit in everything, and good things. So sadly, they always come to an end.
I would like to thank everybody for the beautiful comments you have written in the chat. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Positive comments there. And thank you there. We also have people who have joined us outside our community of Angolan female English language teachers, like Miss Gracia. We have Tina, who's joined us as well, and other teachers. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you once again, Annie, for sharing your valuable insights with us. We are so grateful to have had you join us today. And we hope to have you next year for another session.
I will be very happy. I will be very happy to join you again.
That's great. And to our lovely audience, thank you. Thank you all for joining us and for your excellent questions and engagement. We have a lot of positive comments in the chat box. Thank you so much. Please stay tuned to our next webinar, which will be still this month and on a Saturday, same time.
Thank you.
On the 27th of September with Anna Pirish. We'll be having Anna Pirish from
She's great.
Oh, you know her.
She's great. She's a friend, a very good friend of mine. She's a very good friend of mine.
Oh, that's
She's
great.
fantastic.
You're neighbors. Spain and Portugal.
She's fantastic. You will love her session.
She is. We had a chat on Zoom once, and it was really great. We have awesome ladies in ELT that I'm meeting now. Yeah, and she's from Plural Editores. She's a materials writer for Plural Editores for Angola and São Tomé and Príncipe. So it will really be interesting to know from someone who writes for us, and she also wants to learn from us. I think she couldn't join us today, but please stay tuned. We'll be sending the link soon. And this concludes our webinar. We hope to see you at our next event, and have a lovely weekend. Okay, the weekend's already. The lovely Sunday tomorrow.
Have a lovely rest of the weekend.
Rest of the weekend. Thank you all. Thank you so much, Annie. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you. You can